The wind cut through the trees along Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire. Snow clung to the shoulders of the narrow road, the kind of snow that muffled everything: footsteps, tires, screams. At 7:27 p.m. on February 9, 2004, a single call was placed to 911. A car had crashed into a snowbank. The driver was a young woman, shaken but unharmed. By 7:46 p.m., the police arrived. The girl was gone, and she has never been seen. Welcome to True Crime One Story Channel. Today we are digging deep into the case of Maura, the girl who disappeared without any trace to her whereabout. Please engage this channel by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Maura Murray seemed to live two lives, one visible, another buried beneath careful smiles and polite nods. At 21, she had the resume of a rising star, West Point cadet, star runner, nursing student at UMass Amherst. Her father, Fred, was immensely proud. She was his second daughter, and he had high hopes for her. Maura worked 2 jobs and kept her grades up, but her personal life was fractured just 3 days before she vanished. Maura received a phone call while working security at Melville Dorm. According to reports, her demeanor instantly changed. She was visibly shaken, broke down in tears, and couldn't speak. When questioned, she simply said, "My sister." But later it was confirmed that nothing had happened to her sister. Why lie? Was it guilt, fear, a hidden threat? Saturday, February 7th, 2 days before her disappearance. Maura's father visited Amherst. Surveillance footage shows them at an ATM, withdrawing cash, then shopping for a used car. Later that evening, she borrowed his new Toyota Corolla to attend a party. At approximately 3:30 a.m., she crashed the car into a guardrail on Route 9. The damage was substantial, estimated at nearly $10,000. She wasn't breathalyzed, nor arrested. The officer drove her back to her dorm. Fred later claimed she was upset about the accident, but not inconsolable. Still, this was the second car accident Maura had been involved in, and another. One was just 2 days away. On Sunday, she called various locations in Vermont and New Hampshire. Among them was a condo rental agency near the White Mountains. Why was she interested in Bartlett, a town she had vacationed in as a child? Monday, February 9th. Maura's actions were deliberate, methodical, but also laced with contradiction. At 1 p.m., she emailed her professors. There had been a death in the family, she said. She would be away for a week. There had been no death. She packed a black backpack with clothes, textbooks, and toiletries. She removed her UMass dorm room art from the walls. She also packed birth control pills, a book about mountain climbing, and a printed email exchange with her boyfriend, Bill Rausch. A cadet in Oklahoma, she withdrew $280 from an ATM, bought liquor, and left town in her aging Saturn. She didn't tell a soul where she was going. No one. Not her roommate, not her professors, not even her father. At 7:27 p.m., residents on Wild Ammonoosuc Road reported a loud thump. A woman, matching Maura's description, had driven off the road and crashed into a snowbank. Her Saturn was facing the wrong direction. The windshield was cracked. The airbags had deployed. A school bus driver, Butch Atwood, stopped and offered help. Maura insisted she had already called AAA, which was impossible. There was no cell service. He drove 100 yards down the road, called 911 from his house, and returned. What makes this case chilling isn't just the vanishing. It's the complete absence of trace. No footprints led into the woods, no drag marks, no blood, no evidence of struggle. The dog tracking team found her scent leading east for about 100 yards, then nothing. As if she had vanished into thin air or gotten into a waiting vehicle. Her backpack, phone, and wallet were never found. The only things left behind were a bottle of wine, broken and spilled, and a rag stuffed into the Saturn's tailpipe, a classic sign of someone trying to stall or disable a car. Why? Was Maura trying to fake a breakdown to meet someone or escape someone? Fred Murray became obsessed. Within 24 hours, he was handing out flyers, talking to reporters, and confronting police about their lack of urgency. He believed, from day one, that Maura had met with foul play. But law enforcement initially categorized her as a missing adult, not a victim of crime. Her boyfriend Bill flew in and helped search. He received a voicemail days later. The caller didn't speak, only sobbed quietly. He was certain it was Maura. Phone records traced the call to a prepaid card. The scent dogs and helicopters turned up nothing. The snow-covered landscape offered no clues. Every possible route was combed, every theory explored, and nothing. Theory 1. She ran away, either to start a new life or to die, by suicide. But why bring textbooks? Why withdraw money? Why print an email? Theory 2. She was abducted, but from a rural highway in 10 minutes. Theory 3. She planned her disappearance. Some believe Maura had grown tired of her life, the academic pressure, the strained relationship with Bill, a possible pregnancy and maybe legal trouble, but she had no passport. No evidence she planned a permanent disappearance has ever surfaced. Over the years, alleged sightings trickled in. Canada, Vermont, even a woman with her build at a casino in Atlantic City. All dead ends. Then came the truly bizarre, a tip about a red-stained carpet in a nearby house. Cadaver dogs alerted. But the house was never searched, not until years later. By then, the carpet had been removed, nothing was found. 2 years after Maura vanished, another woman disappeared in Vermont, Brianna Maitland. Her car was found backed into a building, her wallet and clothes still inside. The parallels were disturbing. Same age, same appearance, same geographical corridor, still no answers. Maura's case gained cult-like attention online. True crime forums, amateur sleuths, and podcasts dissected her every move. Her story became a riddle wrapped in rumor, a place where facts and fiction blurred. In 2021, the FBI officially joined the case. In 2022, ground near the crash site was dug up following a new lead. Nothing was found. Maura's life was not as simple as it seemed. Behind the scholarship and achievements lay personal struggles. Her relationship with Bill Rausch, though long-term and deeply emotional, was strained. They exchanged frequent emails and calls, many of which showed signs of tension, jealousy, distance, miscommunication. Some messages hinted at infidelity and mistrust, just months before she vanished. Maura had been caught using stolen credit card numbers to order food. She was given probation, and the charges were minor, but it was out of character. Was she under pressure? Desperate? Then came a strange phone call from a mysterious woman to Bill's phone. "Why are you calling my boyfriend's phone?" the voice said. No one has ever confirmed who it was. Was it Maura, a friend, or someone else entirely? Maura was last seen at 7:27 p.m. By the time Officer Cecil Smith arrived at 7:46 p.m., she was gone. That 19-minute gap has become one of the most scrutinized time windows in true crime history. Some theorize Maura fled into the woods to avoid DUI charges. But she wasn't legally intoxicated, and her family insists she wouldn't flee from responsibility. Others point to the possibility that someone else arrived before police did. Maybe someone she called. The area had only a handful of residents, yet not everyone was interviewed. Multiple homes nearby were never searched. One resident claimed to have seen a young woman walking swiftly along the road, but it was never confirmed if it was Maura. The real question remains, did she leave on foot, or was she taken by someone she trusted? This seemingly minor detail might be the most sinister. A rag was discovered stuffed inside Maura's Saturn's exhaust pipe. Fred Murray later claimed it was a habit he taught her, to stop a car from emitting smoke if the muffler was failing. But why use it that night? The engine had just failed. Was it sabotage? A mechanical issue? Or was it a staged breakdown? If Maura had planned to meet someone, or fake an emergency, this might have been her signal. If someone else did it, it could have been a trap. Some now believe the rag may have been left there by someone else to lure her into danger. A few days after Maura vanished, a tip came in. A man claimed to have seen a red truck parked nose-in near a barn just down the road from the crash site. Inside was a man smoking a cigarette, a blue ribbon like the ones Maura had, tied to her hair while running, hung from the rearview mirror. The police never located the truck or the man. Later, a different resident said she'd seen the same red truck circling the area days before the crash. It was out of place, suspicious, and it vanished shortly after. Maura did. Could it have been someone stalking her? One of the most disturbing chapters in the case involves a house just a few hundred yards from the crash site. Years later, a tipster claimed they had been inside the house and seen a stained carpet. They were convinced Maura had been harmed there. A cadaver dog was brought to the property, and it alerted twice to human remains in the basement. Despite this, the police refused to obtain a warrant. For years, the Murray family begged for access. Finally, in 2018, the house was searched. The ground was scanned, soil was tested, but the carpet was gone. The basement had been remodeled. The results were inconclusive. What did they miss? 1 month after Maura vanished, another young woman disappeared, Brianna Maitland, 17, from Montgomery, Vermont. She too was driving alone. Her car was found oddly staged, backed into an abandoned house with her belongings inside. No blood, no struggle, just a note of wrongness. The parallels were chilling. Both women were in their early 20s. Both cars were left with personal items inside. Both cases happened in rural areas. Both remain unsolved. Investigators never officially connected the two, but local whispers grew louder. Was a predator stalking that region? The road where Maura disappeared is dark, both literally and symbolically. Locals report hearing phantom footsteps along the shoulder or seeing a lone figure walking just ahead of their car before vanishing into the trees. Some believe the forest holds secrets, whether natural or unnatural. "There's something about that road," one resident once said. "You don't go walking there alone, especially not after dark." Psychics have offered wild theories. Some believe she was trafficked, others say she succumbed to the elements, hidden under snow, her body never recovered, but the logical still feels improbable, and the improbable terrifyingly possible. Fred Murray has never stopped searching. Every year, on the anniversary of Maura's disappearance, he retraces her last known steps. He pins flyers to trees, talks to townspeople, and leaves flowers near the crash site. He believes someone in the town knows more than they've ever said. Fred once told a reporter, "They told me this was a missing persons case. I told them it was a murder. They're just waiting for me to die so they can close it." His faith has been tested, but his determination has not. Maura's disappearance changed how we look at missing persons cases. It became one of the first internet true crime phenomena. Reddit threads, podcasts, documentaries, crowdsourced investigations, but with attention came misinformation, wild theories, accusations, victim blaming. Her family has had to fight not only for justice, but for Maura's dignity. In 2021, the FBI created a digital case file for Maura's disappearance, an unprecedented move for a case with no crime scene and no suspect. There's one moment that haunts Bill Rausch to this day. The night after Maura vanished, he got a voicemail. He couldn't answer in time. When he played it back, all he heard was a woman crying. Soft, muffled, terrified. He's convinced it was Maura. No words, just breath and sobs. The number was untraceable. It was the last time anyone heard anything that could be her, and it left the case, like the snow along Route 112, cold. After Maura disappeared, attention turned to the people around her. Friends, classmates, and especially her boyfriend, Bill Rausch. Bill flew to New Hampshire immediately after Maura vanished. He cooperated with law enforcement and helped distribute flyers. He appeared devastated, but over time some inconsistencies in his story raised questions among online sleuths. Voicemails Maura left him the night before she disappeared seemed emotionally neutral, odd for someone supposedly distraught. There were rumors of controlling behavior, emotional volatility. Some claimed Maura may have been trying to distance herself from him. Others believe he knew she was planning to disappear and stayed quiet. Fred Murray defended Bill for years, but even he later admitted, "I can't rule anybody out anymore." Maura's close friend, Kate Markopoulos, was reportedly one of the last people to see her the weekend before the crash. She has rarely spoken publicly. Her silence has only fueled speculation. What did Maura tell her that night? Why haven't more of her friends spoken up? In the hours before she left UMass, Maura did something strange. She printed an .email thread between her and Bill. Why? The email wasn't inflammatory. It wasn't romantic. It was administrative, cold. Was she documenting something? Protecting herself, theories suggest she may have feared Bill or someone else. Some believe the printout was her way of saying, "If I vanish, start here." But the email was never found at the scene. Only later, when investigators searched her dorm, was it discovered among her neatly packed belongings. Some say that was her real message. In 2011, a private group began investigating the area near the crash. Locals directed them to an abandoned property just off the main road, said to have a sealed-off root cellar and entrance to old utility tunnels. Rumors swirled that these tunnels were once used during Prohibition, later by illegal hunters, and even as drug drop points in the 1990s. One local claimed to have seen two men dragging something heavy wrapped in cloth. Near the entrance, the night Maura disappeared. Police dismissed the claims, but private investigators returned years later, only to find the entrance filled in, the ground above it freshly disturbed. They collected soil samples. Authorities never followed up. A former resident of the A-frame house, located less than a mile from where Maura vanished, reportedly confessed to a friend that his brother had killed a young woman and buried her where no one will find her. This confession, made years later, was brought to police and journalists. The house had long been associated with a bad reputation. Drug activity, domestic violence, strange comings and goings. Fred Murray became convinced this was the place. He demanded it be searched. For years, authorities refused. When the search finally happened, cadaver dogs again hit on a specific spot in the basement. But by then, the man who had allegedly confessed was dead, and the house had changed hands twice. During the original investigation, police found evidence that Maura had called a condo rental agency in Bartlett, New Hampshire, a sleepy town in the White Mountains, an hour north of the crash site. She had vacationed there with her family as a child. The calls were never explained. She didn't book a room. She didn't tell anyone she was going. But months later, a man from Bartlett, known to local police for prior assaults, was arrested for trying to lure a female hitchhiker into his car. When questioned, he allegedly said, "This isn't the first time I've tried." The police never linked him to Maura, but online sleuths dug deeper. He had no alibi for the night of February 9th, 2004. His name has never been released. The forest along route would hold stories. Residents often speak of seeing strange lights in the woods at night. Some say they heard dogs barking in a frenzy for hours after the crash. Dogs that never barked before. A hunter, 4 years after Maura disappeared, claimed to have found a piece of fabric deep in the woods. It looked like it had been torn from a backpack. He took it home thinking it might belong to a missing hiker. But when he heard about Maura's case, he reported it. By then the fabric was gone, thrown out in a move. Could it have been hers? Or part of something else? In 2017, a former police officer anonymously contacted a journalist following the case. He claimed that several documents from the original investigation, including witness interviews and GPS records, had gone missing. He accused local law enforcement of botching the early investigation, failing to secure the scene, and dismissing crucial witnesses. One report, he said, mentioned a dark SUV seen parked along Route 112 minutes before the crash, its engine running. It was gone by the time police arrived. The journalist submitted a Freedom of Information Act FOIA request. It was denied. In 2019, a woman in Canada walked into a shelter, disoriented, with no ID. She gave a false name and claimed she had amnesia. When shown a picture of Maura Murray, a shelter volunteer swore it was her. The woman disappeared. The next day, authorities followed the lead. It was ultimately ruled a case of mistaken identity, but Fred Murray still clings to the story. Every time someone says they saw her, he says, my heart skips, and every time it dies a little more. It's been more than 2 decades. Maura Murray would be in her early 40s. Now, her friends have moved on. Her dorm has been reassigned to new students. Her Saturn has long been scrapped. Her cell phone never recovered. Her fate still unknown, and yet every year hundreds of people travel to the crash site. They leave flowers, notes, ribbons. They don't know her, but they feel her story, the fear, the silence, the wrongness. The road hasn't changed, and neither has the mystery. It's been over 20 years. Fred Murray still visits the area every year, placing flowers and notes along Route 112. "I think she was taken," he once said. "I just want to bring her home." The road where she vanished remains unchanged, a quiet stretch of two-lane blacktop, surrounded by dense woods and silence. No cameras, no signs, just the ghost of a girl who left without a trace, and the echo of a question that still haunts everyone who hears her story. Where is Maura Murray? Any idea? Please share in the comments section below. Thanks for watching to the end. Don't forget to subscribe.